Okay, cool. So yeah, hi, I'm Steph. So yeah, currently at the Met Office, but ultimately I work for myself. So I've been a freelance product manager on and off since 2016. Say on and off because the odd piece of work I've done has been a kind of fixed-term contract. But I've been in that space for 3 years. So it might not sound like that long in the grand scheme of things, but it can be quite a long time in the product world. So yeah, just first disclaimer, my slides are not very fancy because despite having had 7 months off work, I'm really busy, which I will go into. You become really used to actually enjoying the time off in between contracts as a product manager. I'm planning my wedding, so getting married in August. Quite a lot to do, and it's creeping up on me quite quickly. Obviously, I've been away dress shopping. I've been getting all my things from the east of England where I'm from, just because I know suppliers and shops and things. So I've been away quite a lot. I've also been completing some final assessments for some courses I've been doing. So it's a subtle plug. Nothing to do with product management, but I'm also just qualified as a personal trainer and a Pilates instructor. So if anyone needs some coaching, that's the kind of sideline which I might touch on as well at the end. It's a kind of second career that I'm interested in. So I've really been filling my time, and also, yeah, as mentioned, I've been starting my new job. So yeah, my slides are a little bit plain, so I apologise for that. But I thought the content's probably more important than how they look. So just want to get straight into it. Just initial, what is it actually like? How does it feel to be a freelance product manager? When you're kind of not working, you have this, sometimes have to really fight this low-level sense of panic, like, I don't have a job, I'm not earning any money, where is my next job going to come from, is anyone ever going to employ me ever again? You can sometimes have these feelings of self-doubt, can be really easy to creep in, and you become really, really familiar with like accountancy and tax forums, just kind of Googling the intricacies of being self-employed and doing your self-assessment and just making sure you're abiding by all the rules of having a limited company, because that's how I contract through a limited company. You become massive kind of recluse in a way. I'm just Googling all these weird things. And yeah, when you are working, it's like, yes, I've got money, I can buy loads of clothes and paying my pension, which is sporadic. But I really like getting to know all the people that I work with in a product contract or a freelance position. But you can also get that sense that you don't really want to get too close to them because you know you're going to leave, so that can be quite sad in a way. Just in terms of real talk about how being freelance feels. It's obviously having colleagues can be a really lovely part of having a job. Obviously sometimes it can be an annoying part, but ultimately I think lots of people make some of their best friends at work. So it can be really hard when you're in an office environment and you really get on with some people, then you know in a few months you're leaving. Particularly as I've relocated, I have been working in London for the last 10 years and we moved here in end of September to Southwest, and I'm also leaving again in October, which I'm wondering why that is. But so you kind of get, can be a little bit disjointed in terms of your friendships and your work friendships. And I've definitely, as much as I've enjoyed my time off in the last 7 months, I have certainly been alone quite a lot of the time. I've spent a lot of time just by myself, wandering around on my laptop. So yeah, I do like my own company, but that can get quite boring quite quickly. But yeah, so just want to take a step back. So that was just some initial thoughts and feelings about what it's like to be freelance, to work for yourself. But ultimately, for me, I find it really empowering. It's really empowering to feel like I've got control of my own future. It's, for me, when I made that decision that this is what I want to do, I just felt exhilarated. I felt free. I felt like I have control of my own destiny. I get to choose the direction my life goes in. And I know ultimately everybody has that choice because they can leave jobs and apply for new jobs and things like that. But for me, that kind of feeling of, no, I'm really going to go it alone. I have to find work, and I have to make it work, and it might be temporary, and it might be short term, and I've got to do it again and again. For me, I just find it really empowering. But at the same time, there's an awful lot of pressure, because I was initially a sole trader, which is pretty simple to be self-employed as a sole trader. You just have to do your annual self-assessment and do some basic expenses, keep them all recorded. But when you set up a limited company, that limited company is obviously a legal entity in and of itself. So you have a whole lot more responsibility, legal responsibilities to do with that company. You've got to make sure all of the company filings are correct, so that you're not going to get any fines from HMRC. You've got to make sure you're paying yourself properly in adherence to all of the rules. So yeah, it can be a lot of pressure that you're getting it right. Obviously you can employ an accountant. I do have an accountant, but still ultimately you are responsible. So it can be a lot, and also the pressure of just the fact that you have got to actually find work and make it happen. But overall, it's a good thing because of that sense of control over what do you do next? How do you market yourself? How do you sell yourself? What do you focus on? How do you tell people that? If you're going to have a website, you get to decide completely how that looks. At a basic level, that just sense of fulfillment and achievement of just doing the things you want to do in the way you want to do them. For me, that's something that's a really positive thing about working for myself. So, sorry, I'm probably talking a bit too quickly. Just want to talk about the time off. So this is an inevitable part of being freelance. You get fallow periods. The last 7 months being my longest ever fallow period because of the relocation to the southwest, which because contracting and freelancing in the southwest doesn't seem south of Bristol has been quite dead, non-existent. So it's been a challenge. But when you initially finish a job, it's like you feel great because you're going to get an invoice paid in another month. So you kind of got at least a month ahead where you're kind of being paid sort of for doing nothing because it's coming. You're really relaxed and just like, oh yeah, I've got all this free time and just get up late and do some washing and just fun stuff, life admin, and then for me, I usually then start to think, oh yeah, maybe I need to start looking again because I'm kind of running out of life admin tasks and everybody is actually at work, so we have friends at work. Most people have jobs, so and I don't have any children either, so just kind of a lot of hours in the day. So I normally start to look. I've said daily gratitude, I think, because it can be really easy to slip into that mindset of, like I said in the earlier slide, of that kind of panic. I actually need to find something quickly. I need to find something quickly. And I think it's really important that for me, I take a step back every day when I'm off work to be thankful that I'm in that position, that I'm able to have time off, to be really thankful that I'm able to be self-employed, thankful that I'm able to still feed myself, house myself, which, partly that's obviously through choice because of the savings I've made and the financial choices I've made, but still lucky. And I think it's really important as well that for me, I don't spend the whole day just searching for jobs or work or contracts. You can't let it consume your life when you're off work. So I normally fit it. So I've made a little list. So I normally exercise. So as you might gather, I'm pretty good in my exercise. So I normally do lots and lots of exercise. Try and catch up with family, these people who are available in the week. Some of my cousins and young children and things. So it's really nice to go drive around and visit people. Tidy up the home, cooking, just really just that kind of gratitude that I'm able to enjoy spending all that time on these really lovely things that sometimes get pushed aside when you're working full time. As much as a full time position might be enjoyable, it's still nice to do these other things. But then when the time off is finished, you can then also feel a little bit like, excited to get work, but then you're kind of like, I miss my pottering around and my little things I'm going to do. So yeah, it's definitely a kind of double-edged sword being freelance. So I just want to touch on finding work. So I think it's quite important to first, I think there's a distinction between being a consultant and a contractor. So I've mainly done contracting, as in I've gone into companies full-time for a fixed period and been there 5 days a week, and maybe I've filled paternity cover, I've filled resource gaps whereby the companies just really drag their feet replacing someone who's left. The times I've been a kind of more of a consultant is when there's been a specific goal to be achieved, whereby there's a kind of fixed time period. So I worked for the British Red Cross, and they had an app that had a pot of money from Aviva because it's a corporate money, so it could only be spent on this app, and they weren't going to employ a product manager on a full-time permanent basis to look at that. They just had to have someone come in to do some short-term work, looking at how to spend that money from Aviva, how to develop the app or not. It was actually decided in the end to scale it all down and get rid of it. But yeah, so I think freelancing, yeah, it's important to make that distinction that there are obviously different ways of doing it. And at the moment, like what I'm doing in the Met Office is that kind of full-time, it's a 6-month contract, it's in the office, so it's a bit different to just being that kind of consultant. But yeah, I think when I'm finding work, I have found that just so many dead ends, it's ridiculous. The amount of people you speak to that it leads nowhere, you get completely resilient to it. It doesn't faze you, but initially it's you just feel so frustrated. Like, why is this not going anywhere? How can I be having this many conversations with people, even for jobs that are visibly advertised? So kind of fixed term, maybe 6-month contract, where they're visibly advertised in loads of job boards, and you feel like, why am I not even getting an interview? What's going on? I'm available immediately. You can go through so many emotions, and there's just so many dead ends finding work. But I've learned in the last 3 years that it always happens. There is always something. So I think that just helps mitigate that fear. I do have my trusted recruiters, or at least I did in London, the same ones I've used for probably about 5 years now, even back when I was a permanent employee, they could get me those jobs. But it is important to build up that network of trusted people who can put you in the direction of companies. So, because often they will obviously do these they'll just check in with the company and say, I know you're not actually advertising for anything at the moment, but could you do with some help? I've got this person available immediately. And if the recruiter's got a really good relationship with that company, then that can actually come off. I have also had work directly from LinkedIn, which is good. So just seeing someone make a post saying they needed some work, some product cover, and I just messaged them, and then they said, can you come in for an interview the day after? So I did, and then I started the Monday after. So it can be that simple. It can be really easy sometimes. But what I will say is, despite all of the dead ends with contracting, once you are through the door and having that interview, it's often pretty much a done deal. Because if you're in front of somebody and you're saying you can start on Monday, and they, you get on with the person interviewing you, you clearly can do the job. It's because it's quite fast moving, and it is often quite a kind of last minute thing. It's almost always a done deal once you're through the door. So that's also quite a positive thing to kind of hold on to as a freelancer. When finding work as well, I think important, and maybe this is just because I'm a woman and was younger as well when I started freelancing, but I think I've definitely made some mistakes in accepting lower rates than I deserved, which I'll not do again. Also made mistakes in perhaps the expectations, what was in the contract, just basic everyday things that everybody should negotiate, whether it's a permanent job or not, that needs to suit what you deserve, what everybody deserves. I think as a contractor as well, if you've had quite a long break, it can be really tempting to just accept anything, and you start to think maybe I would go down for a day. Maybe yeah, maybe that's justified. Like, I would really say to anyone considering it, just hold your nerve. Don't. Just know your worth, because if you don't, somebody else will, and then they'll end up getting paid what you should have been paid. I just think it's just really important to always remember that you hold your nerve, because there's still going to be people in that organisation paid probably like 5 times as much as you. So just, the money is there, and if people need your skills enough, they will pay it. So yeah, let's talk about time off. Time off is a really good part of being a freelancer, as I've mentioned. The last time I had this much time off was actually in 2016, where I had 4 months off. So obviously that's quite a good run. Last year I had a month off in between every contract, which was just the perfect amount of time to kind of, have some breathing space, get my life together, and then feel well rested, and then go into a new company. So yeah, as I've mentioned, in this time I have used the time off really well. It's obviously, I think it goes without saying that having quite this much time off, couldn't have done it without my fiance. I think it is important to. I think it's obviously important to acknowledge that it does obviously really help if you live with someone who does actually have a stable job and a stable income. I think, it'd be disingenuous of me to pretend otherwise. Although I will say, when I did become freelance in 2016, I was living alone, and I was single. So, it's not impossible. But yeah, I just would like to acknowledge that obviously that is a massive help. But yeah, I think I have touched on this, but enjoying the time off is just really important to do, and to do things you're interested in. Like, hence why I've done my 2 fitness qualifications, because I kind of really knew that it would take a while to find something down here that wasn't permanent. There have been quite a number of interesting permanent roles advertised, but yeah, obviously I've not been able to put myself forward for them, especially knowing I'm moving away in October. But yeah, equally sometimes the time off is enforced because it's just a dead zone. So in my experience, people are just not looking, and it's probably unsurprising to all of you, but people are just not looking for contractors from November onwards till kind of end of January, early February, and then kind of July to September, the summer period. There have been exceptions where I have worked through these periods because I've already secured work, but I just think if you are considering going freelance, just to remember that there are actually quite a few months of the year where it's very unlikely that you will actually be working. So obviously, you can be very attracted by day rates and things like that, but you've got to think about your salary in terms of a 12-month salary, really, and actually it's something where you are literally on the bench and it's not your choice. So yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit more about actually being in a contract/freelance position, being there. So yeah, this is all in my experience. So nothing ever goes smoothly in my experience because you're new. Often it's been organised really quickly. So maybe people are haven't been told why you're there. You don't have access to things. Normally doesn't go very smoothly. Not always a priority as well, because you're not part of the regular team. You maybe missed off important announcements or not included in meetings, and maybe part of my experience in that has been my fault in terms of not being as clear from day one about what the expectations are. But partly I do think it's a cultural thing with some companies where they just kind of organise this thing really quickly, or somebody has in a team, and then not really told anyone else, and it sort of just happens. And then I was like, oh, this is what this person is sitting at this desk. And people are like, why are you here? What are you doing? So I think, but I think on the flip side, when you know you're not staying somewhere, it can be a lot easier, I find, to just be really direct with people and really break the ice quickly with new colleagues. Cut straight to the chase with what work needs to happen, what you need, what they need, what needs to get done. It'd be a lot easier just to go straight in there. I would find it anyway. So yeah, my last few points are more about how you need to be as a freelancer. Well, this is what I think. You have to be really self-sufficient because of all of the above. You might be missed off lots of different things. You just have to be really, really, really proactive and just getting access to things, reading everything, speaking to people. Just because you don't, because you're being paid by the day, and because you know you're there for a short time, and because most people know that, at least the person I do, you also feel like you've got this sense of responsibility to, you know, actually deliver tangible things quite quickly. So that helps to just get up and go, really. And that's also part of the reason I became freelance, is because I find it motivates me to get more out of a job, get more out of product, just delve into things a bit quicker, a bit faster. Yeah, I've said get every company's documentation. Yeah, I've worked in product quite a lot of organisations now, and the way people document things is just different. It's so different everywhere, and it can just be an absolute minefield. So normally my first week is spent just trying to decipher what they mean by what and where it is, if there even is any documentation, which often there isn't. Maybe I'm focusing on some negatives, but I think it's important to be really realistic and not just be like, being freelancer is amazing. I have at times felt quite patronised sometimes, because sometimes organisations just see you as like a temporary worker, as opposed to, you know, you see yourself as, I'm a freelancer and I've got lots to offer and I've got all this experience and I can give you value in a short time. But then a company might be like, you're a temporary worker, you're going to do that, and that's what you're here for. So they can be a little bit patronising maybe and treat you maybe lesser than a permanent employee because you're kind of not part of the furniture, you're not part of the culture. So yeah, I've had some good and bad experiences. But ultimately, you do need a lot of confidence, but also it can give you a lot of confidence being freelance. I wasn't always that good with confidence. Probably coming across quite nervous now, which I'm about. But normally I'm more confident. But yeah, you learn. I've learned so much from going into so many different organisations. I've just felt like my confidence levels have rocketed. I think that's a real positive. And finally, obviously you want more work, so I think the confidence thing goes hand in hand with gaining people's trust and being offered more work and offered extensions. So I have been lucky enough in several contracts to have been extended, which is kind of obviously holy grail of being a contractor. But it's also, it's quite, you feel a real sense of achievement because you feel like you have done a good job. People have felt like you've been worth the money, worth the time, worth the investment, and yeah, it just feels good, obviously. Not that you obviously want to stay there forever, because you won't, because you're a freelancer, but it's nice to have that little bit, that extension of kind of regular income, extension of carrying on the work. So that's always good. So just a quick thing on the market. It's highly unscientific market analysis here, but in my view, at the moment, it is quite buoyant for product freelancing, both contracting and consultancy. I think it's quite a good time to do it. It certainly has been bad though. So 2016, obviously it was when I started, but 2017 was a really bad year for product contracting. Just pretty much no one wanted. That was when I took a longer term, sort of fixed term job instead. Because yeah, just nobody wanted to know. It was, all the recruiters I was in touch with were saying people are just not hiring anyone on a contractual basis at the moment. But yeah, so I think it's good to have been through that, and I think it probably will dip again because of obviously there's so many things going on in the world, the UK, the economy. Also, maybe a little bit boring, but there are tax reforms. I've got that wrong around. It's actually IR35, and it's a typo. So there's just a regulation for the way you work as a contractor, which determines how you get paid and taxed, and most public sector contracts are within it, which means you don't get the kind of tax efficiencies and benefits of working through your limited company that you do otherwise, and there is probably going to be tax reform bringing that into the private sector, which means that I think it will probably be fine, because most private sector companies will probably be quite creative in saying that the positions and the jobs are outside of the regulation, because they'll need the workers. But I think that might have an impact, and I think that's definitely, as I said there, going back to the kind of contractor, freelancer, consultant, that's certainly influencing those tax reforms, the way I'm going to offer myself. I think partly it's experience, and partly it's better to be more of a consultant than a contractor, because of these tax reforms. At the end of the day, that sounds really dry and kind of quite, but they're actually very punitive. It's a very punitive legislation, because let's not pretend that part of the reason that people go freelancing is because of money, because you can get paid quite well. But this particular legislation means that you're essentially treated like an employee and taxed like an employee. So it's kind of, yeah, this thing is worth mentioning, and that's why, for me, I'm going to move more towards the consultant model. So on a project basis, kind of a set scope of work that perhaps could be done at home. Come into the office once a week. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that way of working. We're just using general consultants. But yeah, I think as a freelancer, you just, at the bottom line is, you have to create the opportunities yourself. Whether that is a 6 month contract in an office, whether that is a specific scope, a piece of work you do for a company on a consultancy basis, you have to create those opportunities yourself. And that does mean, obviously, your network, staying on good terms with people, not burning bridges. Obviously, you don't want to force it, you don't want to be annoying to people and force friendships, but I think, just using your contacts and just the valuable relationships you've had over the years will create the opportunities. So why be freelance? So this obviously is from my perspective. For me, some of the reasons were just general freedom. I got a little bit sick of doing kind of the same old training every year in an office, or every 6 months in an office. I just felt like there's only so many times you can do the kind of display screen equipment training. Things like that. I just felt like I wanted to be focusing more on the product than actual just general officey stuff, and office culture as well, I think, and politics as well. Some offices I've worked in have been fantastic places that I've loved. Some offices, this is as a permanent employee, some have just been quite negative, to be frank. And I think for me as a freelancer, it's helped me, even if I have done a contract in a quite negative environment, which shall remain nameless, but because I knew I was a contractor, it just really helped me, helped wash over me. It doesn't matter, because I'm not here forever. It's fine. So I think, freedom, control. I just love that control. I love feeling like I am my own boss. Obviously, when I'm doing work, you've still got to be accountable to people in the office. But I like the fact that ultimately I am my own boss. Although, just a small note about public sector, it's not quite the same, because there's just lots of hierarchies and bureaucracies and things like that, which many of you will probably know. So you have to kind of put your boss hat aside. For me as well, I've touched on this, but I like I avoid being jaded, because I'm moving around. I just feel fresh all the time with the products I'm working on, and people I'm working with, and the environments. And even if it is a bad contract, I just feel like always just that little bit more positive, because I know there's change coming, there's different things. It's not to say I'm not committed to the work I'm doing at the time, but it just helps. For me though, my fiance is in the military, which is why we are moving again, and we'll move quite a lot for the foreseeable future, very frequently. So for me as well, being freelance was also a lifestyle choice. I was freelance before I met Mike, but it kind of solidified to me that was a lifestyle choice for me that works, because it's just not good to apply for permanent roles when you just know you're leaving somewhere. For me, it just feels really disingenuous. Money, yeah, I've not put it at the top because it isn't my number one driver, but it is a driver. You can make a good wage as a freelancer, as a product consultant, just generally working for yourself, through your limited company. You know, not going to beat around the bush. You can make good money and change. I've touched on that. I haven't got much left. I think it's probably quite a long story. It's longer than I realised. Yeah. So is freelancing forever? For me, I think it is, because ultimately I would like to end up running my own business that combines my product skills with health and fitness, my health and fitness qualifications and interests. I don't necessarily just want to be a Pilates instructor teaching in a hall. I want to kind of, build something bigger out of that. So for me, yes, I think I can't get away from being my own boss. But I think it's not necessarily for everybody, and that's not a bad thing. I think there are points in your life where it can obviously be really helpful to have a very stable and secure job and income, because other things in your life might not be going very well or secure. You might have family illnesses or things like that. So I think I've obviously held it up to be this quite good thing for me, but it might not be for everybody for very valid reasons. So yeah, are you tempted to be a freelancer after my talk? If you are, do so much research about setting yourself up self-employed financially and in terms of tax. Just have to. You have to. Especially if you're going to do it through a limited company. You cannot make mistakes with that. Really consider your personal drivers. So, yeah, again, being really realistic, I already had a mortgage when I went freelance, so if that's, that can also, those kind of things can influence whether or not it's the right time to go freelance. I did also have lots of savings, and I still have lots of savings, being really frank as well, so that being out of work for a long period of time is not a huge issue for me, although we are going to buy a house, so I'll have absolutely zero savings soon. But yeah, I mean, that was something I built up to before I went freelance, but yeah, as I said, I did already have a mortgage. I didn't have to kind of prove a regular income at that time to anybody. And now I have enough years as a freelancer to be able to get another mortgage. It's been 3 years now. So just be really sure of yourself. I'd say if you feel like you want to do it, do it. It can be a really scary decision to make, but just be sure of yourself. Because lots of people do it, plenty of people do it, loads of people do it in all different ways. And if I can do it, you can definitely do it. I'm just a very normal person from a very normal town. Just very, I'm nothing special, but I've made a successful career out of working for myself in the last couple of years. So I would absolutely say to anybody thinking of it that you should do it. I've said something as well, kind of get outside of your echo chamber. I think that's also just a really important thing as well, is to be quite an open-minded person as a freelancer, because you're going to just be working with so many different people, and you need to be able to be very empathetic, which is probably normal for product anyway. Able to just be that person who can work with lots of different people, but I think especially as a freelancer, just kind of, I've said online communities, it doesn't have to be online. I just like doing lots of things online, having my friends and things, but it doesn't have to be. But I just think being quite a well-rounded person can help you face the challenges that can be brought by freelancing. And that is it. So, here.